Welcome back to episode 14 of Lighthouse Health and Safety Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Chandran. Today's topic is entitled, HSE is not a profession. Now, in the past, you may have heard me very strongly defend work health and safety as a profession. But we're not talking about work health and safety today. We are talking about HSE. What does HSE actually stand for? I was reading an article recently on LinkedIn which confused the meaning of the term environment within the broader HSE acronym. The article's author was a HSE consultant who claimed that the E in HSE referred to environmental hazards in the workplace, specifically environmental hazards that impact the health of people. Wrong. There is already a profession that covers that and does it very well. That profession is called occupational hygiene. Occupational hygiene is a subset of work health and safety. The E in HSE does not refer at all to occupational health. It refers to environmental health, i.e., protection of the environment. However, this misunderstanding really got me thinking. If a HSE consultant can get that wrong, what else are we getting wrong? Now, unlike my past episodes where I keep you hanging on right until the end before I deliver a light bulb moment, this time I'm going to turn the formula on its head. I'm going to tell you why HSE is not a profession right away. And then I'll proceed to explain how WHS practitioners and environmental health practitioners ended up with a professional identity crisis by being forcibly married together under the banner of HSE. The acronym HSE stands for Health, Safety and Environment. Sometimes it's written as EHS, other times it's SHE or HES. Honestly, I don't care how it's written as long as health and safety are kept together. Why? Because health and safety is a profession, not work health or work safety, but work health and safety. It's a single profession and it always has been. Environment is a separate profession. HSE is not a profession. There is no such thing as a HSE professional. However, there is such a thing as a HSE practitioner, and that's what most of us are, whether we are willing to accept that reality or not. Allow me to explain further. Most HSE practitioners have health and safety qualifications. It could be as basic as an entry-level Certificate 4 in work health and safety. That seems to be the minimum credential employers are looking for based on the thousands of HSE job advertisements I've seen in my 25-plus year career in WHS. This strongly indicates to me that most HSE practitioners are therefore really health and safety practitioners, dabbling in environmental matters they may know a little about or perhaps a lot about. However, the vast minority of HSE practitioners have true environmental qualifications, skills and experience. It is extremely rare for a HSE practitioner to have formal qualifications in both work health and safety and environmental health. Take me, for example. I have a postgraduate qualification in WHS. I also have an undergraduate in science, and that undergraduate degree includes a double major in chemistry and pharmacology. This gives me some expertise in environmental toxicology, but I am certainly no expert. My qualifications and experience are primarily geared towards protecting people. You won't find a Cert 4 or master's degree program in HSE. It will be in work health and safety or environmental health. And if you don't believe me, just go have a look. Where is that elusive HSE qualification? You're not going to find it. You're not going to find a professional HSE body. It doesn't exist. There is no such thing as a certified HSE professional. In fact, my own certification labels me as a chartered OHS professional. I am not a chartered HSE professional. Take note. You won't find a HSE Act. There is a Work Health and Safety Act, and there's a separate Environmental Protection Act, or variations of these. I feel that this identity crisis started when we attempted to integrate the health and safety management system with the environmental management system. Suddenly, a HSE management system was created. And from that well-intended but poorly executed decision, the confused HSE practitioner was born. It's like being a dentist and calling yourself a doctor. You've earned the right to do that. But when you're on a plane sitting next to a person that's had a heart attack and there's an announcement over the PA calling for a doctor to help, you keep very quiet because you know they're actually calling for a medical doctor, not a tooth doctor. And apologies to all the dentists out there, but you know what I'm trying to say. Don't accept the honor of calling yourself a HSE professional if you can't accept the responsibility. Moving on from the HSE identity crisis. I get very annoyed when people refer to WHS practitioners as safety practitioners or health practitioners. If you are qualified in WHS, then you are a qualified WHS practitioner. If you are both qualified, skilled and experienced and have been assessed as such by a professional work health and safety body who is accredited to issue certificates of competency, then you are a certified WHS practitioner. Whether you consider yourself a professional or not comes down to ethics and the application of your work to a high professional standard. Certification is one commonly accepted way of demonstrating that you've moved beyond either academic practice or unqualified practice to a professional practice in the field of WHS. So now we come to the next part. We've covered WHS, but what does the E mean in HSE? The E in HSE refers to the environmental health profession. The receptor of interest here does not concern itself solely with people, but the broader environment, all flora and fauna, and the aspects that can impact the health of flora and fauna. We're looking at the land impacts, water impacts, air pollution factors, and how these cause acute and chronic health impacts to flora and fauna. But it's far more complex than this. Have you ever worked in environmental approvals? If you have, then you'll know that nothing can stall a multi-million-dollar project like a delayed environmental approval. They are significant risks to big projects that are being constructed and operated in sensitive environments. And I recall facilitating an investigation that shut down an entire project simply because baseline environmental monitoring was not conducted prior to commissioning. You can't go back in time and change baseline monitoring. If you missed it, you've missed it. You've missed the baseline assessment. And because of that, you have no record to demonstrate how your project meets its environmental management obligations in the future. The environment profession is very, very complex. Not only do you need to have an understanding of the flora and fauna that are impacted by various environmental hazards that can be generated and transmitted through the land, through the air, and through the waterways, but you also need to be aware of the regulatory obligations that surround getting approvals on your projects. So where to from here? I really hope that employers and recruiters consider what it is that they're hiring for. It's absolutely okay to hire HSE people if they are qualified and experienced in both H&S and E matters. But these people are as rare as rain in the desert. A HSE manager who manages a team of H&S professionals and E professionals is another matter entirely. This is acceptable. But in the vast majority of cases, you are really hiring a H&S practitioner pretending to work in E, or an E practitioner pretending to work in H&S. Neither of those is a sound strategy, and no wonder there's confusion and a great deal of uncertainty for HSE practitioners out there. But that's it for today. We've come to the end of another session. In my next episode, I'm going to go technical again and talk about hazardous dusts and fibers. But until then, be well, stay safe, and see you later.